Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 4th of February 2025. These are the stories that we will try to decipher during the course of our show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the visit of our President Asif Ali Zardari to the People's Republic of China. This is an official visit that is being conducted on the invitation of the Chinese President Xi Jinping. The fact is also that Pakistan and China, as you very well know, enjoy very fruitful, strong relations and of course continue to broaden different aspects of the bilateral cooperation and collaboration between themselves and these two states. And this visit also is another link in that very direction. So of course between the 4th and the 8th, our president is going to be in the People's Republic of China. He's going to meet many important leaders and of course discuss many important aspects that include economy, that include counterterrorism and many other important aspects. This is going to be our first segment. Our second story today, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Trump and his plan to clean out Gaza and of the response that has come from 5 Arab nations as well as one other leader. And the response is joint, the response is unilateral, and the response tells Trump not to do what he is planning to do, because this is something that he has reiterated time and again. And of course adding to that are some other comments within the US sector that say that it is going to take a very, very long time for all the disintegration, for all the destruction that has happened in Gaza by the US ally Israel, and during that time, this is what a lot of people in the US are hinting. This is why Trump is saying that the Palestinians need to move to other countries. But what is behind all of that? This and more will be discussed in our second story. Then we are going to talk about the World Cancer Day that is being observed across the world today. Cancer, of course, is a disease that if caught at the right moment can lead to a successful life for the patient, but if not, then of course we know what the end result is. The theme this year is United by a Unique. This global initiative of course aims to raise awareness about cancer prevention, detection and treatment, and there have been messages by our President and our Prime Minister on the occasion. Then Joe Biden has signed with the Los Angeles Talent Agency now that he is no longer President of the US. He also did that the last time, and that resulted in the publication of 2 books. Is he going to publish more books? Is he going to publish a memoir? Because of course he has had decades of experience in the US administration. That we'll see with time. But of course this talent agency has been with the Obamas as well as with Hillary Clinton. Then we're going to talk about the death anniversary, 2 death anniversaries, ladies and gentlemen. The first is that of Malka Pukhraj, the 21st death anniversary of renowned folk and ghazal singer Malka Pukhraj is being observed today. And the second and the last news item, and this another death anniversary also, is the 8th death anniversary of Bano Qudsiya Sahiba, celebrated Pakistani novelist, playwright and spiritualist. Her death anniversary is being observed today. Many of her series on Pakistan television gained critical acclaim in the last decades. Let's begin with our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, that concerns Pakistan-China relations, the visit of our President Asif Ali Zardari Sahab to the People's Republic of China. This visit has begun today. It will continue till the 8th of this month. How important is this visit? There has been a statement that came from the Foreign Office concerning the different elements of mutual discussion between the People's Republic of China and Pakistan, whether it be economy, whether it be counterterrorism, whether it be security collaboration, CPEC and future connectivity initiatives. To discuss that and more, we've been joined by 2 guests. One will join a bit later, but in the studios we've been joined by Muneeb Salman. He's a research associate at ISSI. Muneeb, thank you very much to have joined us. Muneeb, now that our president has embarked on this 4-day journey to the People's Republic of China, not the first time that he's gone, nevertheless it's important because this is the first visit of 2025, if I recall well, and it is a continuation of the high-level visits that have been going on between the Chinese and the Pakistani sides. It is said in a statement that our president will meet with Xi Jinping, with Premier Li Qiang and other senior leaders in Beijing, and the contours of discussions will be on economic and trade collaboration, counter-terrorism, security collaboration, CPEC and future connectivity initiatives. How do you view the paradigms of these facets of discussion that will form the highlight of President Asif Ali Zardari's visit to China?
Thank you, and this is Certainly a very important high-level bilateral engagement between Pakistan and China. And as you mentioned, it is a continuity of the series of high-level exchanges that have been happening for the past few years. Especially something that the ambassador of China also noted recently was that this is well into the first decade of the Chinese President Xi Jinping's historical visit to Islamabad
2005.
back in 2015.
2015.
Yes. So this is certainly an important part, and the growing depth and breadth of bilateral relation is also reflected in a very interesting statement because Pakistan-China relation is usually denoted with the idiom of higher than Himalayas, deeper than oceans.
So, sweeter than the sweetest of honey.
Yes, sweeter than honey. And last year, the Chinese Foreign Ministry in a statement said that this relationship as steady as Mount Tai. And certainly Mount Tai is a mountain that stands against all odds. So that is why the depth of bilateral relation is improving and has been improving for the past few decades. This particular visit is important because this is a continuity of the second phase of the CPEC, and many important projects are going to be discussed upon, particularly bilateral cooperation in two key areas under the SIFC framework, and that is agriculture and information technology, even though there is also a focus on minerals and tourism. But with China, there has been an increasingly focus in engagement on agriculture and IT sector, and this is going to continue and is going to be an important aspect of the discussion between the high-level leadership in this bilateral exchange.
One of the four aspects of discussion that has been highlighted in the Foreign Office is counterterrorism and security collaboration. How important do you see in the face of all that Pakistan is also encountering in the last few years?
Yes, certainly that is also going to be an important dimension of the discussions, particularly in light of the fact that at the end of last year we have had extensive bilateral counter-terrorism exercises, training of police forces from both sides, and also a very high-level military delegation visit from China to Rawalpindi and Islamabad. So this is going to be an important aspect, and especially in light of the fact that in the past 2-3 years the attacks against Chinese interests have not only been happening in Pakistan but also in Afghanistan. And this is a very serious concern that Islamabad has been conveying to Beijing and to the rest of the world for the past few months, that the terrorist hideouts and terrorist sanctuaries in Afghanistan are a threat to the regional stability and to the peace and security in Pakistan. And at this point, certainly Beijing will take the issue of cross-border terrorism more seriously, and this is something at which we can expect some development between both sides.
All right. We've also been joined by Dr. Hassan Daud, but he's a former project director of CPEC. Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan, to have joined us. Dr. Hassan, both sides, as per Foreign Office statement, that is the Pakistani side represented by our president and the Chinese side, are going to discuss the unfolding global and regional geopolitical situation as well as bilateral cooperation at multilateral fora. With an ever-changing global, regional, strategic and economic scenario, how important is a China-Pakistan understanding when it comes to these two topics?
Thank you very much. I think this visit is happening at a very crucial time. We are seeing that the tariff war between U.S. and China is taking shape. We can see a lot of heat generating in the geopolitical framework that is taking shape. But the pleasing part is on the regional front, a lot of economic activities is happening between ASEAN and China, between China and rest of the world, even Central Asian countries. So we see, while the West and particularly US is taking one stance on Asian front, Asia is looking at more opening up. It's looking at regional connectivity. So at this time, Pakistan, which lies at a very important geographical position, has been an active player on the geopolitical, anti-terrorism, social activity that has actually taken shape in the past. Pakistan's role will become more critical. And why is that? Because China and Pakistan are not just neighbors, we are economic partners, and also our relationship with China is also, with US is also important and has played a pivotal role in the region, especially vis-a-vis Afghanistan. So I think in that context, on one side we see the economic cooperation, strategic and diplomatic significance, but also on the people-to-people connectivity part, because essentially the president is going to China at the opening ceremony at the invitation of the Chinese president of the Asian Winter Games. So I think that aspect with strategic and diplomatic significance of all this is important. I also had the privilege of being with the president in one of his earlier visits to China. So President Zardari has his own way of connecting with leadership and also with people, and I think this time also he will go well prepared, and will discuss from a global to regional perspective to, I think, both China and Pakistan bilateral relations. So this is very interesting visit, and I think we should follow it carefully.
Dr. Hassan, there are two things that I'm going to ask from you in one question. The first comes from the Foreign Office statement that talks about the all-weather strategic partnership between China and Pakistan and the commitment that both the countries have made to further and strengthen this partnership. The second comes from the Chinese ambassador in Pakistan, Mr. Zaidong, who says that this visit comes at a pivotal moment in the enduring partnership between the two countries. How significant is this visit, if you look at these two statements?
I think the president is also being accompanied by the chief minister of Sindh and also Balochistan. These are important regions of Pakistan vis-a-vis CPEC. A lot of activities are happening in Sindh where Chinese investors, EPC contractors are working, and similarly in Balochistan we've seen recently Gaza airport and some of the other activities that are happening under the CPEC framework. So I think both in the context in which Foreign Office in their traditional way have highlighted the bilateral relationship that we have, but also amidst the global geopolitical shifts, I think this is vital, and what the ambassador is highlighting is the fact that this is the time to reaffirm the China-Pakistan strategic partnership, which is extremely vital because for us, the economic activity through China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, the next phase of CPEC that we've been talking about, it also was discussed during the visit of the Chinese Premier during the SCO conference also. And also how we are looking at the regional tensions and global realignments that are extremely, extremely vital. So I think his interaction with President Xi will be of great importance at this time. I'm sure he's going to highlight the growing strength of Pakistan and China's economic relationship. Our agriculture export, our export to China in the past decade, since the start of CPEC, has increased significantly, around 35%. And also China is the largest investor in Pakistan. By far it is the largest investor in Pakistan. And now new avenues are being explored where Chinese investment can come from agriculture to mining to human resource development to science and technology. So I think from both from a national standpoint and also from a regional and global standpoint, this visit is extremely important. But having said that, I think for Pakistan it's extremely important that such visits by the head of states, of course by the Prime Minister, but also leadership, business leadership, political leadership, this engagement should continue with China, and the deliverable set in each visit has to be, looked at through a framework. And I think when the president comes back with his after his discussion with the Chinese leadership, there will be a set of deliverables, and those I think would be set up with a time frame so that we can achieve the targets from, as I said, investment and trade agreements, people to people, Belt and Road Initiative, because Belt and Road Initiative will also take a new shape now. The BRICS is happening. So I'm sure the president will also highlight Pakistan's desire to join BRICS. And I think the defense and security cooperation, including the military and security ties that need to be strengthened, especially what might shape in Afghanistan now, because this regional connectivity, the geography, and I think the human resource that is available to this part of the world. And I think we need to leverage that. And lastly, on the technology and industrial collaboration, that's extremely important because we are now, especially Sindh and Punjab, they're looking at setting up their SEZs. Dhabiji is now coming up well. So I think President would highlight those, including his entourage, which will speak about this cooperation. So wide range. I hope the talking points are prepared well. I hope the discussions would be followed up by a roadmap, which is extremely important.
Roadmap is something that the ambassador has also highlighted, and that is what I'm going to ask you, Muneeb. The ambassador talks about both leaders engaging in close communication to chart out the future of the partnership. When you look at the past events that have happened, like the Khunjerab Pass is officially opened year round on the 1st of December, commencement of construction for Chashma Nuclear Power Plant Unit 5 on the 30th of December, recent launch of domestic international flights at the Gwadar airport, and Chinese team of experts that have recently come to Pakistan to perform life-saving operations on children. These are just some of the aspects that the ambassador points out. Then he talks about charting the future of the partnership between China and Pakistan. What does he mean by charting? Which kind of future is the Chinese side looking at?
Certainly, the Chinese side at this point is looking at the future of both increasing the depth of the economic interaction that has been happening between Pakistan and China, because China is almost the largest trading partner when it comes to imports. China is largest importer, second largest export destination. So certainly increasing the frequency and the magnitude of economic interactions, that will be a priority, the first priority. And then also to improve the security collaboration that Pakistan and China enjoy, particularly on matters of counter-terrorism and ensuring security for CPEC projects. And even apart from that, the security collaboration at a broader scale. And then collaboration that is important between Pakistan and China also on international fora. As now there is a repeating mention of geopolitical shifts and changes in the international environment. So certainly the presence of President Donald Trump in the United States is a huge factor that is going to affect all aspects of international diplomacy, including Pakistan's international diplomacy and engagement. And to look at this, certainly the future of the bilateral relation, both countries will have to see how it goes, because even the engagement at multilateral forum is going to change drastically. For instance, the closing of USAID and United States international assistance is going to fundamentally change how international politics play in. We are seeing now a closing of internationalism and a return of what used to be a very protectionist and a very closed international politics. So we might also see a rise of new coalitions, for instance BRICS or the SCO, but how effective or vital they are in this new order is something that we will have to wait and see how it play out, especially how the US policies towards internationalism play out in coming years.
And that's very interesting, because with the changes, especially coming from the US side that wants to change the complete global scenario as far as multilateralism especially is concerned, we don't know what is in store in the next couple of months. Dr. Hassan Daud, but during an interview with the South China Morning Post last month, our finance minister Muhammad Aurangzeb says that the CPEC version 2 will enable Pakistan to be an export hub and generate enough foreign currency to pay its debt. What does Pakistan, in your point of view, need to do in order to achieve that?
Yeah, I think that that discussion that he had in the news item that you're referring to, I think was very interesting, not just in terms of strengthening the economic relationship, but also about Panda bond, which he's been highlighting several times. And I think Pakistan, not just because of its neighborhood with China, also I think should leverage the overall trade structure of China. And when I say this, it means that China is increasing its trade with Central Asia and ASEAN. And Pakistan has good relationship with all the region, including ASEAN, Central Asia, and of course China. And I think if this region forms an economic, I won't call it a bloc because that has a different connotation, but economic circle, I think Pakistan can benefit because of geography. And then, of course, we have the Middle Eastern countries which are also looking at Chinese investment. I think China at this point of time has good capital to invest not just on the infrastructure development but also the soft aspect of the infrastructure, including submarine cables and other aspects that Pakistan desperately needs now. I think for Pakistan, the strategic cooperation and alliance with China, especially since CPEC has taken a new dimension, and I think with Trump assuming office in the United States, the usual diplomacy and the usual economic activity may not be the rule of the game. And I think new ideas, new concepts will emerge. But having said that, I think Pakistan has an advantage of working with both, having economic and bilateral relationship with both. And I think if we can converge this and look at how both countries, Pakistan can take advantage. For instance, if U.S. like the tariff, and if this tariff also increases, the cost of U.S. products being exported from China will increase. So Pakistan can actually benefit from that. Use Chinese manufacturing apparatus coming to Pakistan, especially in the special economic zone, give them proper incentives, and through those incentives create that pull factor. And then, of course, we can not just export those products and goods and services to United States, but also to other neighboring and economic partners. I think we have also referred to BRICS as an economic activity, I would say, coming up and as a replacement. And there's a lot of discussion around, replacing dollars in bilateral economic activity. And I think in that context, the diplomatic strategy has to be very, very nicely tailored, and especially within the context of navigating complex geopolitical dynamics. And I think if we can convince U.S. that good relationship, neighborhood with China does not mean any bad relationship with any other country, and I think if we can have our diplomacy played around that, I think we can have a good balancing act, and we can leverage from this.
I think that is important to have a robust diplomacy when it comes to the future of this region, of BRICS, of Pakistan and China. Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan Daud, former project director of CPEC. Thank you very much, Muneeb, Salman, research associate at ISSI, to have come all the way to the studios and to have given your point of view on this important visit that is happening and that will lead to a further strengthening of our relations. We have to go to a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and time to take you all the way to the United States, where a lot is happening, whether it be on the Middle East front, where 5 important countries, Arab countries as well as one Palestinian leader, have sent a letter to Marco Rubio in order to highlight the recent statements that have been made by Donald Trump regarding the relocation of the Palestinians from Gaza and from Palestine to neighboring countries, and they have highlighted their reservations regarding that. Also, the Israeli military assault on Gaza, as per an updated report, has killed more than 61,000 people, because thousands of people have been added who were missing or are now presumed dead. The US president has also expected today to stop the US engagement with the UNHRC, as well as stop aid to UNRWA from the US side. This and more is going to be discussed in this segment. We've been joined by Syed Muhammad Ali, lecturer at the Johns Hopkins University. Ali, thank you very much to have joined us. Ali, let's begin with this letter that these 5 Arab countries as well as a Palestinian official have sent to Marco Rubio. that regards the recent statements made by Donald Trump regarding the displacement of Palestinians to neighboring countries. Will there be any further development as far as this is concerned? What is the US point of view on it? Is this point of view from the US side non-negotiable from in your point of view, or could something happen, or a leeway be reached?
It's still early to say if this letter itself will have much impact. I mean, it's just a letter sent to the Secretary of State who has his hands full, given that U.S. aid is being thought of as unnecessary and a bowl of worms. So, I mean, that has huge implications globally. So I don't know how much attention this letter will receive, but, hearing President Trump, just very, very recently breaking sort of, coverage on Al Jazeera, talking, sort of giving the analogy, if you will, of how Israel is like a pen, on his huge desk. And, saying that, he didn't want to comment on much on the situation in Gaza, but saying that Israel is a very small, piece of land, a very small territory, and it's their brains and brawn which has managed, helped them to sustain themselves. But sort of signaling that, Israel perhaps does not have enough territory. And if you link that with earlier statements, where there's been, Jared Kushner had been talking about this a year or longer ago. And President Trump also saying that, now, I mean, Gaza is like kind of unlivable and it has to be built up from scratch. And Jared Kushner had said this can be prime property. So, and also the suggestion that maybe the Palestinians should move to other Middle Eastern states. So there is, which creates a lot of complications for Egypt and for Jordan, where 60% of the population is already of Palestinian origin, right? So how these Arab states are going to now manage what's going to emerge out of the Netanyahu and President Trump meeting. I mean, President Netanyahu is, Netanyahu is still, under ICC, arrest warrant. And, yet he came to the US. I mean, the US does not really acknowledge the jurisdiction of the ICC. So, there's a lot of moving parts here. So in that, I mean, this letter is, it will not have that kind of gravitas, just a letter written by, a few Arab states to the Secretary of State. But there are sort of things happening within the Middle East, which we can also think about vis-a-vis Iran and other Middle Eastern countries.
Speak of Iran, the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson has also said yesterday that the international community should help Palestinians secure their right to self-determination rather than pushing other ideas that would be tantamount to ethnic cleansing, quote unquote, ethnic cleansing. How do you see this statement in the wake of these statements by Jared Kushner, by Donald Trump, and by others?
Well, I mean, Iran is not the only one that said that. I mean, if you look at Amnesty International, one of the most prominent human rights agencies, it has also, published very damning assessments of what has happened over the past 16 months. And for Iran, there are, Iran itself is kind of cornered, if you will, right now. So on the one hand, it has lost many of its proxies, including, for instance, Syria, like what's happened in Syria right now, what's happened with sort of the weakening of Hezbollah politically and militarily in Lebanon, and the Israeli incursion there, as well as what's happened. I mean, yes, Hamas has crawled out of the dust, but I mean, if you look at what's happened to Gaza and what's happening to the West Bank right now, so these were all actors that Iran had exerted influence over. So barring the Houthis, which have very limited capacity, Iran itself had a confrontation with Israel. So, I mean, there are a lot of, regional actors, sort of analysts who are saying that this is the space to watch, because are we going to see something like a JCPOA, like an attempt by the US to broker talks with Iran, or on the other hand, like how desperate is Iran and insecure is Iran now feeling? Is it going to go and try and acquire nuclear capability to create some kind of a deterrent? And Israel itself, I mean, while it would love to go in and and inflict further damage on Iran, it would have a cost. I mean, Iran has lost some capacity, but it still has a lot of capacity to create a lot of disruption, not take on Israel by itself. And Israel will probably want the US to help it, which is the calculus which might be going on in the minds of policymakers here. And on the flip side for Iran, I mean, Iran cannot do much to Israel by itself. But I mean, it can inflict some damage, but it can create also destabilization within the Middle East at large. In Iran now, as I think Wali Nasser, I was hearing him speak recently, also commented that Iran is now also, on the one hand, it is certainly weakened and cornered, right, and is insecure that it might be facing a more aggressive assault. And on the other hand, it is less isolated, vis-a-vis other regional players, like Saudi, and and it's been the foreign ministers have been meeting, and there have been, it is now less isolated in the Middle East and for other Middle Eastern countries for their own reasons. I mean, they certainly would not want to host, 2 million or more Palestinians. And I mean, that will create a lot of, difficulties politically, a lot of difficulties within their own countries. And, then there could be cross-border issues, which enhances friction with Israel. So, the situation between the US and Israel and Iran is certainly something to watch, over these coming weeks and months.
All right. So, Ali, also, we all remember the Donald Trump statement, America first. Now that Netanyahu is in the US as we speak, we don't know what's going to be discussed. We'll know in the next couple of hours or the next couple of days, because he's extended a little bit his visit to US. Firstly, was supposed to come for a few days. Now he's going to stay, I think, if I'm not wrong, till Saturday. Now, the White House Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, tells Axios that the whole destruction that has happened in Gaza because of Israel, whose prime minister is right now in the US, will take 10 to 15 years for the reconstruction to happen in Gaza and Palestine. That is maybe one of the reasons why they're asking the Palestinians to move to other countries, so that this reconstruction could take place, something that the Arab side and the Palestinians are not accepting. In this whole America first scenario, do you feel the American 100 or 100+% backing of Israel as far as arms and ammunition is concerned, as far as its stance is concerned towards the Middle East, will continue, or will the US change stance?
Well, there was a certain amount of uncertainty, which led to the initial ceasefire. Because I think even with Netanyahu, he had lost some of the trust with President Trump, because they had a great relationship the last time around. But when Trump had to, there was this whole controversy around who won the last elections, and Netanyahu was very quick to congratulate Biden, which had upset President Trump. So, I mean, now it seems, I mean, he's like the first head of state to be visiting the US, that those fences have been mended, because of self-interest. However, it seems that there is, I mean, there are other issues in the world that the US is involved with as well, and the Russia and Ukraine situation, for instance. I mean, there's no easy fix to that as well. Now, is President Trump going to, and he's having friction with European leaders, and they might diverge in terms of, their support to the Ukraine. For them, it's more, more of an immediate threat. But is he going to be willing to, use his levers of influence to try and reach a settlement where the Ukraine has to concede territory to Russia, right? I mean, is that the kind of peacemaker that he's going to be? Is he going to be able to revive then the Abraham Accords in some form, shape, or the other? I mean, yes, the suggestion might be that this place needs to be demoed and rebuilt, but for whom? Right? I mean, right now, I mean, Israel has, I mean, in the West Bank, it already exerted a lot of control, but now it is, Gaza was kind of hands off for Israel, but now Israel has much more penetration there. So it's, it's not going to be as simple as, building up apartments and letting the Palestinians back in. I mean, there is this fear, and it's a long-standing intergenerational fear of the Nakba, right? So, and there are other issues at hand for the US. I mean, like the trade wars, the increasing animosity with China, and that's closer to America because of the Panama Canal. And it is exerting a lot of pressure there. So the US, has its hands full, being still the most powerful country in the world. So, it's going to be, it's within this broader context that, some kind of face-saving exercise has to be found. But will that face-saving exercise, be it Abraham 2.0, will that deliver anything meaningful for the Palestinians? I mean, that is the real question.
Real question. I'd like one last answer to my question, but a very, very short and concise. The US president is expected to stop UN engagement with the UNHRC. Secondly, he's also going to halt the funding for UNRWA. That what impact is this going to have? What are your expectations?
Well, I mean, it's going to shrink its multilateral commitments also with the NATO states, but most importantly, look at what's happening to US aid. I mean, US aid is the largest bilateral donor in the world. The US, because of its contributions to various development agencies, which do also its bidding, it is really, it's done a stop order. So all the work that was happening in health and education in Africa, elsewhere, barring some humanitarian, relief within sort of the Gaza situation, all that work is stopping long-term development projects and immediate humanitarian aid. So, this is really something where, for the Dems, they saw this as a carrot to make, other countries do their bidding. And this carrot has suddenly been jerked away, and let's see what happens in these next 3 months. I mean, is US aid going to be abolished? Is it going to be taken over by, by the State Department? I mean, this has broad, long-standing implications.
Another long-standing implication, again a very, very short answer, is on the peace deal. The US president says that he has no guarantees that the peace is going to hold. Now that talks for the second phase of this peace deal are going to happen in Doha, what are the expectations as far as that is concerned?
Well, so I mean, if it's the signaling is that, first it's like I'm the peacemaker, before I came in, the war stopped and prisoners were handed back, to now I don't know if the peace deal is going to stand or not. I mean, and this is happening while there's conversations with Prime Minister Netanyahu. So, it doesn't seem like a good omen. I mean, are we going to see a more aggressive stance now where the US and Israel try and sort of diffuse the Irani threat once and forever? I mean, what's going to happen, within Gaza and the West Bank? I mean, his lack of faith is also a signal that, hey, I mean, if the deal breaks, I mean, I wasn't standing by it. So that's the kind of
question marks, to be very frank, as far as a lot of things regarding the US and regarding the Middle East and regarding aid and regarding so much more hangs out in balance. Basically, the world balance is basically hanging out in front of everybody to see because of the recent US decisions. Let's see what happens in the next couple of weeks, which are going to be, as you yourself have said, extremely crucial. Thank you very much, Syed Muhammad Ali, lecturer at the Johns Hopkins University, to have joined us to discuss these very important issues regarding the US. Last stories first is the World Cancer Day that is being observed across the world, including in Pakistan. The theme for the World Cancer Day 2025 to 2027 is United by Unique, which is an initiative that aims to raise awareness about the prevention of cancer, its detection, as well as its treatment. President Asif Ali Zardari, as well as the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, have both issued important statements as far as this day is concerned. Our Prime Minister says strengthening cancer care infrastructure, investing in research, and ensuring access to affordable and quality treatment for all are the top priorities of the government. Next, Joe Biden, ladies and gentlemen, in the US has signed with the Los Angeles talent agency, the CAA, which previously also represented him between 2017 and 2020. He wrote 2 books in that time, one regarding his son. A lot of speculations on what he's going to do this time, but no real concrete evidence of what is going to happen. Is he going to read a book? Is he going to start a show? The Obamas have also signed with the same agency, and they've been and that relationship has been very lucrative. So has the one with Hillary Clinton. Next come 2 death anniversaries, ladies and gentlemen. The first concerns Malika Pukhraj, whose 21st death anniversary is being observed across the world in Pakistan today as well. Renowned folk and ghazal singer. She was named Hamida on birth and was born in Jammu in 1910, moved to Pakistan after partition, and trained by Ustad Ali Bakhsh Kasuri. Rented many songs like Abhi To Main Jawan Hu and so many others. Finally, today is also the 8th death anniversary of Banu Qudsiya, celebrated Pakistani novelist, playwright and spiritualist, born on the 28th of November 1928 in Firozpur, and wrote treasured books including Na Qabile Zikr, Baz Gasht, Amar Bel and Dast Basta. She was honoured with the Sitara Imtiaz in 1983, and she passed on this very day in 2017 at the age of 88. Our prayers go to both these wonderful and spectacular ladies. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with stories that pertain to us in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.